Chegou a nova graduação ao vivo Estácio. Você participa das aulas de onde estiver, junto de toda a turma e com os melhores professores.
Up and some extra sustain in these longer trades.
Yeah, immediately answered. And interesting, we're seeing the Lucian first pick because
Trades were cleanse as well. So 3 summoners down here in the early part of this. And this lane naturally pushes. Like, in terms of trading between the 80 carries here, the Draven is going to feel pretty great into the Callista. It's one of the only 80 carries that can actually trade back damage in range. But without the Ashe summoners here, and with a Renata pushing super hard, the extra shield she's going to give, it's kind of hard here, especially summoners down to try to make a play. And Elam is just going to camp this lane.
Yeah, that's what he has to do. As Gumayushi still sub 50%, but T1 playing very respectfully, and you can see Ona once again lurking. Great positioning for the Lee Sin as he gets the knock-up. Gumayushi still in trouble, even though the Lee Sin's here, but they get the first blood. Gumayushi walks it out. He just needed the flash, guys. That's all he needed, and that's all they had remaining, as now Ona still looking for more. Wants to be able to grab this. He safeguards forward, gets the flash out of Moham, as Teddy's trying to punish any potential overextension, but another Q is going to land as he flashes to bring Ona under the turret. The handshake! That was 11 head from Kwangdong Freaks, but Moham, oh, it's going to get blocked as well. What an amazing series of plays from both teams. T1, though, do walk away with first blood.
So they will walk away with first blood, but Ona is, of course, removed from the map here, so both junglers will die. That is going to reset things. Elam going to go straight back to the top side of the map and continue farming. But with the back timing here, Gumayusi and Keria are going to push this wave in. There's no teleport. There's no return to lane here. So this is going to be at a pretty hefty cost for the Kwangdong bottom lane in terms of CS. So the end result here at the end of the day is, yes, Teddy gets a kill, but he will lose control of this lane quite significantly, which is what T1 wanted in the first place. So, yeah, I really do, despite Owner's transgressions and overextensions there, like how this ended up for T1. If he just walked away, it would have been even better. But his aggressive move there is actually what pushed Teddy and Moham out of lane and forced them back. So
I appreciate a bit of Lee Syndrome every now and again. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
As you may have heard from the play-by-play, I was very excited. I knew he was going to go in. I just knew it. We all knew it. But the flash was there for Teddy. Still, being able to get Callista's flash is also in unto itself a very good thing. But Ona dying, definitely suboptimal. But we'll see how this actually affects the rest of the game. As you can see, Zeus laning against Keen quite nicely up here towards the top side of the map. Slight advantage for the Gangplank, but that's to be expected in the early game. And just going to be playing on the weaker side of the map here, both of our top laners, as the jungles will be required in this bottom lane for the foreseeable future.
yeah, if it's, you know, if it's Callista versus Draven, it's a bottom 3v3. That's all we're watching. This is going to be Gumayusi. Has flash, just pulls it off the last possible second, is spamming it. Turns around, does not get the kill, but doesn't care at this stage. Still doesn't have very many stacks. And then this is the turnaround where we do see the Lee Sin take the Sonic Wave. Flash comes in. Handshake guarantees he's pushed back under turret. Well played here. Then he blocks the arrows.
Yeah, the volley block was fantastic from Teddy as well. That evens out the trade. But as you can see with the gold, Kwangdong Freaks were actually able to get a little bit back. A little bit of that is skewed because Gangplank exists. His good old piracy does lead to a little bit of extra money being available. As Kwangdong Freaks are looking to take this Drake, we do have a minute and a half before Shelly hits the rift. See who's going to be able to get the priority there, as Keen definitely with the health advantage, but is respecting Zeus, whose spellbook does give him access to the Ignite. Check out Faker's win rate, pretty high here. He's played a fair bit of Talia over his time.
Less than I expected, actually, in the 16 games. Talia was very popular a few years back and in the mid lane, and with the back timing actually from Guma and Keria, and obviously with Elam having the tempo advantage with the later death from Owner, Teddy and Moham get lane control back very momentarily. And Owner is back down here again, so this could be just another trap set up here for T1. Owner unseen, has that control ward in the brush. LM's coming down here too, pre-6. Neither of these junglers very lethal, so a lot of this is going to be about the setup here on the traits of the AD carries, which Kuma is hitting super hard right now.
Yeah, Teddy getting taken down relatively low. Owner's position hasn't been given away yet. As Ellen moves in, they get the handshake, but there's the Q connects on the Teddy somehow. The bailout comes in, but it's not going to work. Cannon Barrage is also largely ignored. As Gumichi's going to cash in at 7.5 minutes here in game number 2, and things are looking much different this time around.
Now the Draven is getting online, and this was a play that was premeditated from Quantum Freaks around the fact that they think Owner is not here. LM is trying to look for the bait play there. That's why Teddy was taking those aggressive trades with Guma, which were not favorable, which is why he's the first to go down when Owner shows up and is able to get on top of him. He's just so low from the trade that happened before. This is what I was saying, pre-6 for the Jarvan and the Lee Sin. They don't have their kick, they don't have the Cataclysm at that moment in time. It really is about where the trade is if you're going to win a 3v3. But Quantum Freaks took the bad trade, expecting that they are actually baiting this. Look at Teddy's health, because Guma traded with him so aggressively. He's going to continue to do so. They bait this again. Look at Teddy's health again. And when Owner shows up, the bailout comes through. They're like, we can turn this back in 3v2. Then Teddy's going to actually pop off and get a triple. That's the hope. But no, it doesn't happen this way, or double rather, because again, they're not expecting Owner's going to be there. They're hoping the bailout is enough for Teddy to trade it back, but it's not going to happen. Okay, Cataclysm is ready this time.
Yeah, LM's moving on over. I don't think they know where Moham is.
Owner's going to be there. They're hoping the bailout is enough for Teddy to trade it back, but it's not going to happen. Okay, Cataclysm is ready this time.
Yeah, LM's moving on over. I don't think they know where Moham is as well. Death flies through. Carry off to the side. They're looking for Gumichi first. Teddy is going to be able to lock that one down. Now Fate gets on down here. He's spear rushing forward, but Carry is going to be left alive for now. They're running out of minions underneath this turret. Teddy's going to hop himself away, and he will get shielded up there.
Imagine how amazing this would have been for Kwangdong if Guma had not cashed in before this, and they've been able to die. Yeah. Take away that stacks, it would have felt like the most god-tier swing for this roster. But he is picked, and they do get a plate here, but it's not the end of the world. Carrier will go ahead and back here. Does now have his own level 6 for a little bit more action on the map. But the timing of this is really unfortunate for Kwangdong Freak. Still a great pick, still a great force here. Fate comes down as well to make sure this is guaranteed. They can zone Carrier away. This even, of course, forces Faker to come down. Will, of course, realize, okay, I run out of minions, I can just go back to lane, but still, proactive play here from Kwangdong Freaks. Unfortunately, just not fast enough as Guma in that previous 3v3 gets so ahead. So he down in CS right now, but feeling fantastic about the position despite the death.
Yeah, probably still fine. His cash-in wasn't huge. He got 420 gold, I believe, from the kill onto Teddy. So wanting a little bit of extra time now to stack up these adorations and see what they can do. As I've seen this one before, Quantum Freaks, and T1 are going to see it again. As you can see, they have a lot of vision in this area. As control ward here, not actually able to spot out that other ward towards the side. Nice little knock up as Zeus is going to throw down the Ornhorn. Keen is going to flash, but will get knocked up. Brittle Proc comes in, but Keen makes it underneath the turret. Still, that is flash pricked up just by the big old blacksmith on the top side of the map.
Yep, he's got unsealed. Just going to switch back to teleport and keep pushing the issue here. With the attention top side just completely given away. Like, there's no attention here, rather. There's with the lack of attention top side. And Ornn actually can try to push the advantages here, especially with unsealed. Owner once again now trying to set up for a play, but this one is more deadly than the next or the last because this one has a Rift Herald attached to it. So if they're successful here,
Fate's call. Owner is in position as Moham just going to get on over, and they will be able to lock this one down. Owner does have the Rift Herald available. I think Quantum Freaks have an idea that there could be at least in the area, and I like the fact that they are playing respectfully, because that could have been a disaster and it would have been a repeat of the same mistake that they made previously.
But would have been, like I said, worse because you'd lose your turret and all the plates as well if you mess it up this time. Oh, I'm now flashless.
Yep.
Pretty significant here. And, I mean, right now, Quantum Freaks for a trade.
A little knock up there as LM going to do a bit of damage to Owner. And now, of course, Jarvan buffed a little bit. That passive goes off a little bit more. As Faker's going to weave his wall over. He wants Moham.
They know he's flashless.
He does find the seismic shove, but they do manage to get the ulti through. LM in a bit of trouble, who's now completely zoned away from his team. Of course, the Q lands from Owner, and they lock down that pick off as well. And T1 will seamlessly transition into this Drake as well.
There was no winning here for Kwangdong Freaks. Your support has no flash. There's a wave crashing into the turret bottom side that Teddy is going to lose if you really want to force a fight here. And you just don't have choke point control. They have Weaver's Wall. And all it takes is Guma Summoners to make sure he lives. Is Keria.
Yep, another arrow is already off cooldown as Teddy is going to get bailed out. Let's see whether they can grab the kill. They do! And now Fate is here. Can he land the charm? Of course he can! Gets Gumayusi against the wall and will be able to guarantee it. Beautifully done here as Quandong Freaks answer back, but Faker is getting plates in the mid lane. And LM comes on over, but won't be able to deny it this second.
Well, with these kills being picked up here, suddenly this game is back to a close state. Actually, it's no longer very T1 dominant because 2 kills now on Teddy, 2 kills on Fate.
Ona has Rift Herald that just timed out in the mid lane.
Yep.
I think it popped up.
But let's watch this fight one more time. Okay, maybe not.
Yep, never mind. Keen is just battling against Zeus here, who's just ignoring the gangplank damage and might just kill him, as he can always headbutt the wall. Good little movement there from Keen to avoid. But there's the flash. The brittle was there, and he was just waiting. He was just waiting for a breath.
He knows. He knows that Keen has no flash, and as long as he hits that breath, it's just going to be enough. If he flashes on him, we'll get the kill. Yeah. This is going to be a denial of the Rift Herald, at least here for Quandong Freaks in the meantime. So a little bit of power, again, given over to Zeus here on top side. Will, looks like, grab another plate here. Keen does have teleport. He can come back in 10 seconds, but that should be enough time. As, man, this game is just action nonstop. 9 kills here at the 14-minute mark. But the last exchange that went in Kwangdong's favor gives 2 kills to Fate. Teddy now has 2 kills, 2 assists, has a lot of money here. So Guma's no longer running the show necessarily. There's a lot of damage here on Quandong Freak's side. They have strong engages. Once again, we're going to see the Jarvan rotate over.
Another Fate's call. Gumayusi not going to get knocked up from it. Owner and Faker moving on over. Carrier here as well. Seismic shove not going to land on the Moham. That was dangerous as he throws in the loyalty program. Doesn't really do too much. That's not a great. I don't need to use that skill name, I don't think. Yeah. I gave it a try. Don't think I will. Anyway, let's check this one out again.
So, Flash used early here, and yeah, Teddy has bailout. This is another reason why, like, Ashe in this moment is just not obviously going to live for very long. But the real critical thing is, when you have Renata, Kalista, one of the power they have is they push lanes really hard because just Renata does that. But the other thing is, if you have the bailout on a Kalista, so much damage, and you have an Ari coming over, you can get a pick like this and then suddenly turn those fights beautifully. That was a really great play from Fate. This is AS just having flash advantage, and Keen is trying his best to avoid these, but being a little bit greedy. I think could have just run away and been willing to lose CS there. Does get flashed on. Yeah. So at least you get Zeus' flash, but you're going to die for it.
He had to respect so many things.
Yeah.
Like the searing charge, so couldn't stand next to a wall. Didn't want to get the brittle proc and knew that he was going to die if he got Bellows breathed. And then Zeus uses it in the perfect way to get underneath the turret, proc the brittle, and then searing charge to get himself out. Nicely done.
Yeah, I mean, this is now, look at the gold lead here for Teddy. 900, 1,000 he has at this point. Fate also picking up that money, has a 400 gold lead over Faker here. The Taliyah in this comp still operates very well around the CC they have. They have the Oran Horn, obviously. They have Gumayusi's ult that can add some extra damage layered on top. But it's not the same sort of power, in my opinion, that Kwangdong had with the Taliyah comp last time, with the Amumu that can be Fates called in or out of fights, where they have a strong Gwen that can lock the door on the rest of the team collapsing in with stopwatch. So from behind here, you know, this game doesn't feel as great here for the mid laner of T1. Faker does have Crown of the Shattered Queen, to keep him alive a little bit longer, does have his stopwatch at the ready. So can try to hard engage here in this upcoming fight for this third Drake. But I really like Kwangdong's position in this game, despite a small gold deficit. Where the gold is here for T1 is on a Lee Sin versus scaling Ari and Kalista through the mid game. Like, they're not going to be late game scaling champions, but they're hitting their spikes early, which is, I think, more valuable right now than Lee Sin. Yeah.
I mean, money now is absolutely it, and I would 100% agree with you if it was anyone's Lee Sin other than Owners. I just think that this guy uses the money better than any of our others, and I think it kind of transcends the champion himself. Sometimes the nameplates are necessary.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. Like, does make you feel a lot better that it's his Lee Sin that is ahead, of any Lee Sin that could be ahead in a situation like this.
Well, Moham here alongside Teddy, just trying to clear out the mid lane as we're doing a bit of K-ramming, something that I believe Quandong Freaks actually invented here at the LCK.
That's what the K stands for.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, Quandong ramming. All right, so it's going to move towards this Hex Drake. Once again, we have 1 dragon apiece here for both of these teams. 2.5 minutes on the Baron. And so not going to need to worry about that for the next little while, as there's a knock-up. Ornhorn to come in. Zeus taking matters into his own hands. Cannon Barrage, though, in a pretty good position. And Zeus not going to be able to get the kick that he's looking for. He does secure the kill onto Moham, but it's a one-for-one trade at the moment as Teddy trying to be in position to get these auto attacks down. There is the movement forward as Fate is going to get the stopwatch out of Faker. Ellen flashes to get himself out of the way, but Teddy locks down the kill. But in goes Zeus. He will be taken down, though, as the flash comes out. Teddy's playing so well today. It's just ridiculous as Gumushi completely out of mana, but avoids the charm. And Kwangdong Freaks, they win another team fight.
This is a massive lead for them now, Atlas. They win another team fight, but 4 kills on the Ahri, 4 kills on the Kalista. And once again, T1 forcing a fight in neutral, not playing around the power of the Weaver's Wall, not using it at all. And it's really Zeus who's pulling the trigger, looks for the knock-up there into the Ornhorn, and it was a great and fantastic idea. The problem is there's a lot of counter CC here, and you're trading so much of your damage here for a support. The only person that goes down in this initial exchange is Moham, who's also thrown back into the things here as he's fake called out of it. Lee Sin traded for a Renata, and then Zeus is waiting for his cooldowns to try to turn this, but there's no follow-up damage. Gumayusi is so low range on this Draven. Look at him walk forward so carefully, trying to chunk out Keen. Faker has to stopwatch here. Elam escapes over the wall, and then now Zeus, this is not the right call. Like, this fight is not going to be won. They have charm. They have so much damage. You're just throwing yourself away here, and he flashed as well in that fight. Now his flash is on cooldown. Kwangdong Freaks in a massive tempo advantage right now. So much money on this Ahri that can side lane extremely well. Look at what Teddy picks up. He picks up a QSS. He's like, I know I need to be the carry for this team. I need to do so much damage. You guys have a lot of tools to shut me down, but the QSS is going to be so extremely valuable for him.
Yeah, and also he took heal. I didn't even really notice, but I mean, that's pretty egregious.
It's for the it's for the Draven matchup, right?
Yeah, I guess. But it is, you know, into Ashe, you almost always have to take cleanse, right? But he elects not to as the Ornhorn comes through, gets a nice double knock-up. They guarantee the extra headbutt of Shirley. But Keen's here on the bottom side. He has Cannon Barrage to try and deal with the mid lane minion wave. Faker's going to come down and try to punish, as Keen is going to use the walking away tactic, which works very well. I think that's a hard counter.
He has a turret, excuse me, there to hide behind, so Zeus also rotates over to try to help catch him there. So Faker uses Weaver's Wall, which he's level 12. It's on a decent cooldown here still, not the longest it's ever been, but obviously it's going to be a massive ultimate down here for potentially Kwangdong Freaks to start a Baron. It's the same style of composition for them. They have a Kalista who is very fed. It doesn't have a Rage Blade early this time because it was a little bit more utility. It is starting to build it. You can see the Rage Knife coming through, etc. But got the QSS here early to make sure they could pop off in subsequent fights. I don't think Kwangdong will, at this moment in time, be able to force a Baron fight before that Weaver Wall comes back up. But you could see T1 trying to somewhat emulate the composition that Kwangdong played in Game 1 with his Taliyah, but the execution isn't there. They're not as prepared on it. And Kwangdong Freaks just know how to play around this Renata Kalista so well, and Fate is having, once again, an amazing game here on a completely different champion on the other side of the coin here.
Yeah, it's looking really, really good. And Fate's had a great day. Elam's had the best day he's ever had. This is just nutty. Of course, Elam and Teddy trying to get some revenge against their former team of last year. We were saying many jokes about Kwangdong Freaks, of course, especially when Hoyt was there towards the bottom side as well, because that's 3 former T1 players that are on this squad. Now with Moham, not quite as much, but Elam and Teddy very recently were over there.
Yeah, I mean, people were jokingly calling this team T2 for a while.
Yeah, right.
Because it has so many former players with the new Kwangdong sponsorship. The logo, or the colors, rather, are very similar to T1's. There were a lot of parallels to draw there. Now, Kwangdong Freaks have vision set up here around this Baron, but with T1 so close by, with long-range arrow and Ornn engage opportunities here, they don't have the turn with this composition just yet to look for a start. Yeah, they have Cannon Barrage, they have Cataclysm to try to hold chokes, but I think Kwangdong being measured here is the right call. Take the advantage you have and try to continue to roll it into a more realistic objective fight. A Dragon you can burst down much faster than a Baron, and just try to get Soul Point here. You can try to pull T1 around the fact that you have this vision control right now and a setup for it, but you don't actually have to hard force.
No, and I also think that Hexdrake is absolutely fantastic for Kwangdong Freaks. Of course, just getting a soul is, in general, fantastic, but having that added CC, being able to lock down the targets is certainly going to help what this composition wants to do and its longevity moving forward as well.
Absolutely. The fact that T1 have this Ashe that can both arrow but also hawk shot something like a Baron makes the lack of vision they have on Baron right now less terrifying because they have a lot of ways to suss that one out themselves. They are, of course, going to group up faster here on the third Drake, or rather potential soul point here for Kwangdong Free, so it'll be their second. And I like that T1 just say, you know what, we can check Baron. I don't think they're on it. I don't think that it's realistic for them to take it. Let's, instead of trying to force clears over there and give Kwangdong Prio, just actually sprint right down to the Dragon, force Prio there ourselves and set up first. Because if we have the defensive setup with all of our Oran Horn, Lee Sin Kick, Talia walls, like, Kwangdong can't come over to this. The only thing they should be scared of is if Kwangdong tries to trade this Drake for a Baron. So they have to be very aware of that because there's still no vision on Baron whatsoever for T1 at the moment.
Yeah, these volleys are just flying through, making Kwangdong Freaks' life annoying. As Ona just fishing for any potential Q to come through. This minion wave is going to come down as the arrow connects onto Elim somehow, and he will get punished. Cataclysm went down. It tried to deny the Ornhorn. I believe it did, as Zeus didn't get a whole lot of CC there, but still, a whole lot of this damage has been done as Faker is going to block off so many members, and Teddy, flashes behind Faker's wall and is just kept there. In the little, he's like in Harry Potter's cupboard under the stairs. It's not what you want to see.
He just flashed right into jail. You ever just flash right into a cell? Yeah, I just didn't know the Weaver's Wall was going to interact that way with that wall and have that little tiny pocket that he would be trapped in. It might have expected the Weaver's Wall's on the edge, but he would actually just be pushed through it. There was just a tiny gap that he gets stuck in, but I love how T1 handled this whole scenario, as Fate is going to look to grab a free charm here, but won't lead to anything else.
He is a stun, but yeah, Zeus is very tanky, like you were talking about. The arrow looks majestic as it flies by. Another seismic shove, though, as Faker has certainly downloaded Elim today. That is going to be his second one in a row, and Elim's going to have to get out. As T1, I don't know what happened, but over the last minute, they have had some of Michael's secret stuff, and they are looking absolutely fantastic. They'll lock away this Drake as well after collecting the Baron. And this is the swing they needed. Another cash-in for Gumayusi as well.
Blind without vision on Baron, T1 decided to rush towards Drake control, set up a vision line here, then have a hard engage saying, okay, Kwangdong, are you going to run at Baron, try to trade Baron for this Drake? If you do, then we have hard engage. We can go, you have no vision on our Drake scenario that we're setting up here. Potentially, we could be starting it, you don't know. And the second Kwangdong start kiting back towards Baron, that's when they pull the trigger. Is unfortunately, Teddy is just flashed into this weird pocket. Is just delivered by Owner. I don't even know if that was completely necessary, but it does help guarantee the kill there with the bailout coming through. But I love T1's decision to say, no, we're gonna rush to Drake.
I like the thumbs up.
Yeah.
That was a fun bit.
T1 now have a ton of control over the map. They will have a Baron. We'll have even Drakes. So that one moment here swings the game completely back into their control. Gold lead notwithstanding, they have so much map control. And that's what this comp relies on so much. And when you have Weaver's Wall, you could stop any sort of counter plays. You could stop any sort of wraparounds. You can cut Kwangdong in half.
Yeah, it's their ability to play from ahead with any sort of Draven comp. It's what they always excel at. And T1 as a team are just so good at it. Their ability to just ride out snowballs is just amazing. As Kwangdong Freaks up against the ropes, and with a composition like this, the amount of outs are not very large. And T1, I mean, they're building ornaments as well. You can see it's upgrade on the crown, on the shield bow, and we still have a couple more to come through. But it's really starting to mean that even though they have a 4,000 gold lead, it's actually a bit higher than that with the amount of extra stats that they're picking up.
True.
Orn's Forge.
And also, Kwangdong has been one of the weakest teams at coming back from deficits. When they lose control of the map, they really lose control. And T1 are the best at pushing advantages.
Yeah, manages to buffer it that time, does Helen.
Yeah, that was a very close call, as Owner does have flash kick. So could have been a disaster if he does end up getting caught there. I mean, look, Kwangdong just resetting here, trying to group up. And the next fight is going to be on Soul Point now for T1. 2.5 minutes from now. And during this interim, like, look at the lack of vision on the map here for Guangdong Freaks. Like, they just do not have any deep vision. They don't have control of top or bottom side here. The comp is very fragile.
Yep.
It's still winnable, a team fight, if T1 mess up the execution. But the problem is they have so much power with this arrow potential. Like, you could set up a pick with this instantly. If Keen gets caught there, follow up there from Faker, seismic shove, he's dead.
Yeah. I also love that Kerry is just throwing these arrows out on cooldown as well. You can see already halfway back off. And he's got so much mana, he can just do it forever. As just throwing volleys in. Every opportunity that he gets, Weaver's Wall is going to deny any sort of defense on this inner turret, unless Keen is able to get rid of it. And Cannon Barrage, plus some barrels, is going to do so. So they trade ultimates there between Faker and Keen, but I think I'd prefer to have a defensive Cannon Barrage than the ability to build a wall.
Yeah, when you already have naturally map control as T1, you don't need the wall to be used to set anything up, whereas the Cannon Barrage is now not going to be there for the second wave of minions that crashes through. No Weaver's Wall, but you're still just sieging up this turret. And T1 are just trying to time the game out for the next fight because they have so much money now. The Draven is on 3 items. Talia is going to be unkillable, has Crown plus Zhonya's. Like, Teddy can't really even threaten him. He will just never die. They have an Aura in front line.
Well, another arrow into the seismic shove. The stand aside is actually going to troll Faker a little bit there as Fate is looking for a stun, gets it onto Faker. But it is still going to mean that they're able to take down this turret. Bit cute there from Ona. But he's not going to commit to anything. But still, it took a bit of work for T1 take down the inner turret.
Yeah, and, you know, some ultimates exchanged here. But again, T1 feel pretty good about the state of their lead. And, you know, with the comp that T1 have from ahead, it's oppressive, it chokes you out. It's like the Guangdong Freaks are being squeezed by an anaconda right now, and there's very little room to breathe. They have 2 stopwatches now on Jarvan, who didn't have it when he was picked earlier on, which was really unfortunate for him. Had he had a stopwatch then, things could look different. Stopwatch, you know, available here still for Fate, but he's not really the one who's being picked. He's not the one being caught, and there's no angle for him to flank anymore because he doesn't have vision, doesn't have any idea of where he could set one up, so the stopwatch isn't very valuable for him. Sorry, Valdez, just true in this game. Might save his life for a few extra seconds, but it isn't going to be a game changer. T1 just have all the tools, all the control, and it's not even going to be a contest here for Guangdong Freaks. 20 seconds on Baron means they can't trade. They can at least set up, but they will not be able to trade. They're going to have to win a fight to get this Baron.
Well, I think Guangdong Freaks getting some vision control here is definitely important as Kane has to flash. He himself out of the way, but Gumayushi's going to return the favor, and that is a very dead pirate. Teddy in position, but he's going to get shoved. Faker picks him up. It's a double kill for Gumayushi, as now Faker's going to be able to secure it onto Elam as well. And T1's revenge is swift here in game number 2. We're 30 minutes in, but Guangdong Freaks, they're not going to be in this game for much longer.
Guangdong Freaks had such a good mid-game. It looked like they might have been able to just choke T1 out of the game. They had a nice lead, but a few great calls from T1. Namely, their rush towards that 4th Drake was so massive. Now it's going to look to push to end the game. A lot of turret shots tanked, however, so we'll have to wait for these minions to come through.
Yeah, so it may not be over just yet. But, you know, it's sort of it. As Faker is going to get caught, he was trying to take a Hex Gate. Hex Gates have been a very big problem here in the LCK for a large array of reasons.
Well, that was a game that was basically in T1's hands. They messed around with the push, took a few extra turret shots.
Does this mean Guangdong get Baron?
Yeah, that's what I'm, like, this is actually kind of a silly swing that should not have happened. And T1 have a teleport, so teleporting mid. Weaver's Wall is up for Faker, but he's not going to be here in time. This is kind of a disaster. Now, they do have Ash Arrow.
Yeah, and this Baron goes down extraordinarily quickly. This is Rageblade Callista. They also have a lot of Secure as the arrow is going to fly by, but it doesn't land onto Keen this time. Ona looks for a Q. He gets into the back of the pit and steals away the Baron. And now all of them are just fish in a barrel for Gumayushi to throw a lot of big axes at. He will be taken down, but Teddy is still looking for more. Carrier not going to get rendered that time around, though, as Ona is going to find Fate and locks down that kill. So the rest of T1 take matters into their own hands. And this game is now officially over.
Yes, the second time is the charm here, as Faker will, you know that time when you die in the solo queue game when your team pushes to end and you're really sad you're not there? That's Faker right now.
Yeah, he's like, wait, I want to be in the picture. I want to be in the photo.
Yeah, I want to be in the end. He's Weaver's walling his way over. Will he be in the final shot? I guess he might just barely get in frame in time. But T1, that really decisive call to push for Drake. I keep going back to it, but I think it was a beautiful call. Wins them the game. They turned it so brilliantly around Vision.
Yeah.
They will bring us to a third game here. Not going to be Kwangdong Freaks with a back-to-back 2-0 this season around. A closer game. A closer game than I think a lot of people expected after we saw that draft. The Kwangdong Freaks draft definitely had some holes in it. Wasn't the same sort of setup coordination we saw from them in game one they found success with in the past. But T1 started off strong on the bottom side, lost some mid-game fights where we saw Fate pop off, gets 4 kills. Teddy gets the bailout trade on bottom side. Game was definitely not as one-sided, I think, as T1 fans expected both games to be. They thought they were going to get a 2-0 tonight. We are going to a third game. But I feel like the third one is anyone's to take, you know. I don't think we necessarily say T1 are massive favorites going into Game 3 because both games were so close.
Yeah, and I actually think that Kwangdong Freaks played out the early portions of this draft quite effectively, but I think that if you give T1 an inch with a draft like this, if they have in game number 1 as well, I mean, we could be going to a really long break, right?
Yeah.
Instead of now preparing for game number 3. It's just one of those situations. And Kwangdong Freaks are now, as you can see, Spirit having a long conversation here with the team. But I think that you're going to be still pretty happy about how things are going so far in this series. I don't think that this is backbreaking at all.
No.
There is nothing embarrassing about how Kwangdong Freaks played that game number 2 at all. So I'm really hoping that we see another competitive game here in game number 3.
I hope so too, and I think for Kwangdong Freaks taking even a single game against T1 in the second series, it feels great. If you're able to steal this one away, though, if you go 2-0 over T1, you'll still be the only team to have beaten T1.
They won the most games against T1 all season, absolutely.
So you kind of get 2 freebies on series you probably should have taken in the first round robin. Maybe if you win this one, you grab an extra point on the board, puts you one step closer to playoffs, right, where you're really fighting against DRX and KT Rolster right now as Kwangdong, you know, in that 7th place spot, really trying to push their way through. So, unfortunately, they do have to go to this third game for them, but still feeling great about their chances with how clean game 1 was and how close game 2 was.
And with plays like this, right, it might be Teddy and Deft fighting for that last playoff spot, which is an absolutely crazy thing to be thinking about here, given the fact that DRX had a great start. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, it is the analyst chairs and then game number 3.
먹으려고 한다. 싸움보자.
캠플 볼 수 있나 캠플?
캠플,
볼게,
캠플
볼게.
개피.
캠플 봐봐 캠플. 다 뛰었어?
먹었어.
하나 봐봐.
칼리 안쪽으로.
아래 아직 가볼게. 칼리. 아 미드.
봐봐.
나이스.
잘 잡았고. 끝내면 될 듯.
나이스.
나 부활해. 끝내자.
Hello and welcome back to the analyst carpet space with the chairs and everything. That's kind of what we expected. T1 taking a victory, but it wasn't a straight up one, right? Kwangdong putting up another great fight. And at the end of the day, T1 do pick it up, but still a pretty good series so far.
Series is really delivering. It's actually really cool. A lot of similarities to last time as well. Then it was, of course, Kwangdong that picked up the Ashe support out of nowhere. And I really like the adaptation. I think T1 is still showing some of the same issues. Guma and Faker in particular are not having the best of days. Karrian and Zeus, good as always. Owner also, rough first game, but looking way better in the second one.
Yeah.
So on an individual level, I think T1 is just not playing their best today, which happens. But this draft, very nice. Wolf had a really good call for the Ornn, which I really loved as well. Think you really need that, especially when you run a double AD comp, although of course Ashe is a little bit of a hybrid with the mandate. And then Taliyah, rising in priority, very, very good. I'm actually surprised that the Sylas was kind of just ignored, because I do think that it's still a really strong pick and might even be stronger than Taliyah, although jury's out on that one. I think Taliyah also is really good into the Sylas because of the E. And then Kwangdong, I'm actually surprised they made it as close as they did, because I think their draft is pretty lackluster, playing Kalista into Ashe and into Renata's really hard. At least Keen went for the right build, but I don't think he's playing very well still. And Ellen, unfortunately, slid kind of back to regular Ellen form in this one.
Yeah, even so, with the drafts that we kind of gave the edge to T1, Kwangdong were able to find some wins on the map. Let's take a look at the beginning of this game, because there was so much action that happened on the bottom side of the map. Basically, we were just having a tri-lane. It was very, I don't know. Yeah, this is like how far we're going now.
This is one of my favorite moments of the summer season thus far. Kara's just like, no, I will not partake. Ellen, unfortunately, like hitting the flag in reg there would have killed him as well. So like, it's actually good.
Yeah.
The interrupt there from Gumayushi, obviously very cute. Still gets knocked up, but is able to stay alive regardless. And the reason why we're showing this is because like Owner and Ellen were sitting on 3 camps for like the first 5 minutes of the game. It was wild. There was so much bot side action. A little bit of full sending in here. And I think Moen and Teddy actually played extremely well. Same for Fate. So I think the bottom lane action really shows again what the current meta is. A jungle farm doesn't matter. It's all about bottom lane.
Yeah, and you know,
yep.
It's Jarvan and Lee Sin now. Like, we're just getting these picks that can gank really well. They don't have to farm, you know, they can just be in the bot lane. It's kind of insane. I was saying to you during the draft, it was like, it's really interesting. For so many years in the LCK, we just never really had that much focus in the bottom lane picks. The AD carry, it was always hand shook. It was just like, oh, we're just gonna pick scaling pick versus scaling pick. But finally, here AD carries are strong enough in this meta that we are actually having like really interesting bottom lanes. Junglers playing only around the bottom lane. Mid laners always roaming. It's insane. It's really nice to see. Let's take a look at highlight number 2, as we do have the mid-fight that essentially turned the game on its head.
Yeah, because prior to this, I was saying to you as well, this is the 2-0. It's happening. And helped by Ellen walking back into a admittedly somewhat gratuitous hitbox. They get a pick on him. And then, obviously for T1, it's really easy to just elongate the fight. Teddy getting stuck in Taliyah jail. We're very unfortunate. Must have had also the cooldown on the spear, because otherwise you just hop over that wall and then maybe you're fine. But not going to be the case. And after this, T1 gets Baron, and then we're back in the regularly scheduled program. T1 ahead, and then they close out the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, let's take a look at the Zeus of the game. The player of the game. Yeah, I was trying to do my best Atlas impression. Yeah, Zeus is going to pick it up. He did have some fantastic moments. Even in moments where maybe he shouldn't have gone in, he was still getting insane mechanical outplays. This guy is just a monster.
He's insane. He was incredible, and he has been incredible for the entire year. Truly a player that we are very lucky to have within our region. And it's the whole package, right? Getting solo kills on Ornn, starting off so many of the game-winning fights. Just really clean. I'm expecting Odin to pick up a lot of votes as well. Got a key Baron secure later on. And if we get a much better game. Kept Alim under control as well by continuously tracking him and making sure that the bot lane was kept safe. But this is all you need to know. Like, it's not a top meta, guys. Top is getting 0 resources.
I was
There
about
he
to
is.
say, like, in this 80 carry meta, it is Zeus on top with 3 80 carries around him. Only 5 votes, a lot of votes elsewhere, 3 votes even down for Keria there in the bottom side, and Owner getting a lot of attention as well. Not bad. And the series has really delivered so far, so let's go back to the casters for game 3.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And don't worry, media, we see you. We see you. And the observers as well as a unit, just the Giga Chat carrier voters. I love it. Anyway, Zeus picks up a well-deserved POG. I think my vote probably would have gone over towards Owner.
Well,
just given the fact that he was so instrumental in that early game, but we'll see.
I told you as soon as we took our headsets off, like, I really wanted to vote for Zeus, but I think I had to give it over to Owner. He made so many impactful plays, and I think the Baron secure there at the end was really what pushed me over the edge, but it was very close in my mind, and I'm glad that Zeus does end up picking it up in the end. It was either of those players I would have been very happy with, so I like to see the split, and yeah, it says, like, I can't miss out on a great match like this, T1 versus Kwangdong Freaks, and it is delivered. You know, the upset was one of the biggest matches of the whole season, and now Kwangdong Freaks going to pick red sides. So we're going to have the same sides here for all 3 games.
Yeah,
as
really
a result.
interesting.
Yeah, and I think Callista has been the prio pick here for Kwangdong Freaks. They know that T1 have kind of avoided the Silas. They haven't really been interested in it. They didn't ban it away. So I think we're just going to see another Teddy Callista game. Question is, what comes with it? How deep do we go into the 3v3 on the bottom side? See if T1 just ban it away, because I think that would just be an easy solution here of all the power he's had in both games.
Yeah,
shutting it down.
And we'll see whether the Pike is going to continue to be banned as well. It's been exactly the same bans, both of the games for Kwangdong Freaks, the Zeri, the Corki, and the Pike. Lucian has just been ignored throughout this entire series. Impossible to pick into Draven if they do leave that one up. But what you could do is you could choose to ban Draven instead of Pike, and then you have the ability to flex between both the Callista and that Lucian pick.
The Callista gets
like to.
so much stronger. And the fact that the Amumu is banned instead of the Callista here for T1 really just shows that they want to play Draven and the Callista. They're very comfortable doing so, and obviously they've shown in the games that they really want to play it aggressively like that. So we might just see a very similar draft here once again.
Yeah.
T1 banning the Gnar, so that one's off the table. If they ban Draven, if Kwangdong ban Draven, I like it a lot more, but once again, it will be the Pike.
Yeah, really respecting Carrier's Pike here. Not going to be able to see that. As T1, they are going to first pick the Talia one more time, and this is what they did in the last game, and they won. So can you fault them? Probably not.
Not really, but it was a very close game, and there were some errors in terms of the bottom side. I think we're running it back, Atlas. I think we really are. I don't think Teddy's moving away from the Callista. It's Callista Renata. The bailout value in those trades is why Teddy picked heal, because he wants to actually have just enough damage, just enough sustain and healing to actually barely be able to kill the Draven.
Yeah.
In that 2v2, like, that's why the matchup was played that way. That's why Ashe took heal, just so that Draven had a little bit of extra power there in that 2v2, because it's so on a knife's edge. Even that little bit of healing actually can spin it one way or the other.
Well, we'll see whether T1 do just lock in the Draven Ashe here. I would expect the Ashe not necessarily to be priority picked so highly. I think the Ornn was extraordinarily valuable here for T1 and could be pretty comfortably banned, although Trundle is still available. So not wanting to fall into a Trundle trap, potentially, as far as the third pick is concerned on Kwangdong Freaks' side.
I think
they leave that.
The same could be said of the Jarvan here, if Kwangdong Freaks want to run that one again. There's a lot of other options, like they could just play Trundle here and pick it up earlier. I think Kwangdong Freaks want to make sure they have guaranteed a strong jungle for this 3v3 fight that we're setting up for again. But they want to prioritize the Ahri, which was so instrumental. It's shutting down the Ornn in some of those pivotal fights, and catching the Talia early, you know, forcing Faker to use his summoners in a lot of these team fights very early on. So, I mean, we're basically just completely running it back right now, and I love it because I think a lot of this game that we just watched was very back and forth, but it was a game decided by a really decisive play from T1 in the later parts of the game, but they were behind. I want to see what happens if they make no mistakes. Neither team makes mistakes in the early game. We'll see a different version.
Yeah.
As Poppy banned again.
Yep. So it was Nocturne Trundle banned by T1 last time. They are going to look to the Nocturne at least. at this point in time. I think Trundle ban comes through. I think Quandong Freaks just ban the Ornn. I don't think that you want to let Zeus have that one again. Won the 1v1 pretty handily into Kane, but I imagine, so they are going to ban that. That's going to be the first time we get an adaptation. This is how we know it's not a recording.
Yeah.
Everyone, this moment right here, thankfully that did happen.
Jarvan also similarly could be banned, because now, you know, LM's ability to make that impact very early on in the game is somewhat limited in terms of the champions that are available. Trundle does work similarly, but just doesn't have the same sort of range and isolation. Ban the Gangplank, actually, this time, so
I like
stopping the Cannon Barrage here wasn't a laning issue for Zeus at all in any way last game, but the slows that it's going to add is part of why Kwangdong won some of those mid-game fights, especially around the mid lane.
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind the Trundle to be prioritized here. Gives you access to the Sejuani to be picked up later. But 2 seconds to go, and LM's going to pick away the Lee Sin. So we have to have a completely different round of picks here for T1 to round things out. Kind of like the idea. However, now T1 can just go for the Sejuani Trundle if they would like to. But also, Quandong Freaks can still... Oh, wait, never mind.
Okay, so it was just a bug with the API. All right, so we saw the flash of the Jarvan for a second there. Would love to see some Elise. She's getting buffed slowly over time.
Wait, was there a flash of the Elise as well?
For Guma there was.
Oh, okay.
But it will be the Lee Sin in reality here. Yep. I mean, we're running it back. What Jarvan gives you in terms of CC, Lee Sin gives you in terms of extra damage. And instead of the Ornn for a tank here, looks like we might see the Shyvana. Now, this is normally used with a hyper carry in the bottom lane. I'd much rather see the Gragas. I think that the engage you needed so badly on the Ornn, you at least get in some form of long-range engage with the Gragas. I think the Shyvana would have been pretty terrible here, to be honest, especially blind like that. Whereas the Gragas is both a safe blind pick like the Ornn, but also is going to be so much safe engage from a distance away as well. This could be huge. There's a lot of big ultimates to steal here.
That's a really cool... And we've just kind of forgotten that Sylas exists since the very first game, where it was banned second by T1. So Sylas is going to come through. It's going to be locked in by Keen here towards the top side. Zeus has been spamming Sylas, actually, in solo queue, but he's going to be against it this time around. We'll see what Keen's going to be able to do here.
There are so many ways for the Sylas to actually extremely hard win this lane if he's given resources. And so Kwangdong Freaks might just actually pivot away from the Kalista Renata lane and play more defensively down there. Don't actually put it into the 3v3, make it super hard. Yeah, maybe they will in the early parts. But later on, when Keen steals casts away from the enemy Gragas, he's no longer as safe as he once was, especially when Cataclysm exists. There's a lot of power actually here on the top side of the map here, potentially for Kwangdong Freaks here. Plus, you could steal away the Draven ultimate, the Talia ultimate, Ash Arrow. But the big ones here are going to be the Cask and the Kick, because you can kick Talia away. You can actually trap her in a fight. There's so many ways. Utility-wise, the Sylas pick is going to be amazing. And the landing phase should be pretty solid as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd say it's practically free.
You can also use Sylas similarly to Lee Sin. You know, you get the kick, you know where they're traveling, you can instantly land a Q very comfortably. Same can be said for the chains. Get the kick, get the chain, or dash chain, you know, with the abducted scon. So, very cool stuff. We'll have to see whether it's going to work here as we hop onto the Rift for game number 3. Kwandong Freaks fans, I think we can hear more of them a little bit more loudly here in the studio because we are over their side of LoL Park. But T1 still drowning out any opposition when it comes to fan chants, as per usual. And we'll see whether that is going to help get T1 across the line here against Kwandong Freaks. As Kwandong kind of proving to be the kryptonite for T1 here, because they have just not had that much trouble against many opposition outside of this squad. And it's baffling. I don't have the answer. As T1 are going to be on a ward once again. All 5 members discovered. As Kane's moving over.
Yeah, and this is just
Oh, this is very cute.
Guangdong Freaks on a completely different angle here. Now, it depends on how they back away if they do Keria and Kuma, of course. As they're just the passing ships in the night here.
Yeah. And you can see Elam is actually going to be starting on the enemy Krugs.
Yeah, so going to get a really awkward time here. Those are actually, the spawn time was changed a while back, so they actually can't, you can't do them on spawn at 1:30. But he goes over to, I think he was considering it, and he's like, oh yeah, that's been changed. So you can't actually
He did start in the position of the Krugs. They just weren't there yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
That's what I meant.
They were removed, I think, or that was changed so that the bottom 2v2s, the blue side, couldn't actually just get across.
Yeah. That was a million years ago.
Yeah, that was pretty busted. So, old strategy as, okay, Elam's down here, level 2.
Yeah, and Kerry's been lit on fire already. The heal has come out as Gumayushi is real dead. That's the flash, that's the rend, and that is Teddy picking up first blood.
Way more valuable to take out the Draven than it is to take out the Ashe in this case. So going for Guma instead of Keria there, having the already preemptively set up control of the lane means that this is an amazing start here for Teddy. It's 2 summoners here, heal and ignite used just to secure this one. Keria did heal to try to help out, was unfortunately not successful. Did help save his life at least, but this is now going to be a massive swing in the favor of the Kalista Renata, and LM just sets it all up. Yeah, sacrifice a little bit of jungle in order to do so, but this is way more valuable.
Yep, some pebbles go down here in the mid lane as Moham. He's going to rotate over. Doesn't quite find the handshake. Yeah, loyalty program landing not as important as it turns out. As I said the ability name again, I once again kind of regret the decision. It's not exactly intuitive.
Yeah, I don't really like
Chain
it.
Lash is going to connect there from Keen. Much better name of an ability.
Yeah, there you go. So LM starts enemy red buff, you know, with this invade that happened, is able to get to this position for free at level 2. T1 just not able to identify that he's back there and that this is happening. They're way too far up in the lane. Jarvan early ganks, man. We've talked about the power of Poppy, level 2, level 3. We've talked about Trundle. But the Jarvan, you know, the one that kind of goes under the radar here once again for Guangdong Freaks, this time getting a much more massive lead than the last where they were trying to set up the 3v3. It's not a 3v3, it wasn't there.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of a Kongu Monster game back in the day, Wolf, when Raze debuted. And he
You're throwing me back.
And he just camped. It was just the most obscene amount of camp, and managed to cheese like 3 games in a row with these level 2 ganks.
It's a very campy meta, isn't it?
It is. It is.
A lot of tents being pitched. Like, I love the point that our Carpet Spaceman made about how the LCK has usually just been a handshake for the bottom lane, especially in terms of the AD carry matchup. But now it's been like layers and layers deep on. We need roaming mids. We need aggressive jungle picks. We need to always be there. It's all about the bottom lane only all the time. And I feel like so many games have been decided by bottom matchups so early on, and a lot of LCK games have basically been ruined by mismatchups down there, that every team from top to bottom is now just so focused on it. As I mean, look at the CS lead now that Teddy has picked up here as an early kill.
Yeah.
12 CS in advantage over the Draven. That'll, of course, you know, somewhat be mitigated by this wave crashing through. But I think this is a dishonest stat thing. I think Gragas is very strong and just has not been successful in the comps he's been played in, and there have been some kind of weird losses there. Look at Zeus. He's 8-0.
Yeah.
Don't read too much into that loss streak for the Gragas.
Yeah, Zeus is actually, this is one of the initial champions that he played. Of course, Na was his debut champion, but it was in sort of the Na Gragas meta last year. So certainly something that he's been very comfortable on in the past. He's going to get a bit of a rotation over here. See what Fate's up to.
He's nowhere near 6. Just, you know, if anyone was wondering, he's only halfway there, so not going to, like, hit 6 off of this wave that he shares with Faker or anything like that to look for a cast play. It's just a body slam he's looking for right now. This is going to help set up for a Drake take here. As Keen is, you know, pinging this, like, he's missing. He could be gone. Fate is going to show the respect. And because the Gragas in this early matchup is just going to play defensively, he's happy to just go back up and catch that top wave. He really wants to force something here, but he's not going to be successful. And it's going to speed his body slam. He's going to body slam to speed his way back towards the top side.
Yep. Keria has to flash. Needed to avoid the handshake. A lot of respect here from the T1 bottom lane now after how these lanes have gone recently. I would have thought that actually if this lane was sort of left on its own, as I think that cannon actually didn't get picked up. Yeah, which is a bit unfortunate, but given the early kill, Teddy's been able to stabilize this and create the lane advantage. But otherwise, you'd imagine that Draven Ash would have just the most amazing time. But Quandong Freaks definitely navigating it very well. Of course, Renata is just pretty strong.
Bailout, yeah. Bailout is busted. Handshake also not only, you know, gives you extra CC from a safe distance, it's almost like you have a melee supports CC from range, so that's kind of not fair. Teddy takes heal because he wants to win that one out, and the Bailout gives you basically an extra life to do a ton of damage. So it's just too risky to try to trade, even though Gumayusi with his autos does more damage. Remember last time when he traded against Teddy and was winning that, he was setting up a bait play for Owner to come in and get the kill. But Owner is just so behind the curve now of this game, he cannot make an impact, and you know, you just can't win these 2v2s anymore, just straight up because of the kits here. And Raven will lose out the longer trades. Keria has heal to kind of help him out, but if it does come down to that all-in exchange, and Teddy is always happy to force those all-ins with the lead he has and the faster Dirk now online.
A lot of early power in that Dirk pickup. I actually really like that as sort of a flex choice if you are just winning the lane. Pierce just hurts so much with that added lethality around it, and you're going to be able to take a lot of control back. So even though it doesn't necessarily fit a Kalista kit that well, it's still a really, really cool flexible option there just to guarantee a bit more power in the lane. Seen that more and more over the last little while.
I just want to compliment how Kwangdong have played this Kalista series. Like, clearly their whole game plan was we're going to play Teddy Kalista, and this is what, you know, there's several drafts we can run. Obviously, they're running this one back a second time with the Sylas change-up. But they came really prepared for this, and T1 also prepared for the Kalista with their Draven counter pick, which they've used several times. They found so much success with for Guma already this season. And it just feels like both teams are like, I'm going to do what we prepared, and we prepared for the other team. And it's just been such an exciting series to watch how the microcosm of the bottom lane has really evolved and changed both times around by Elim, trying to force something. This time he is much more successful than the last.
Yeah. This also is going to really highlight how the top lane's going to go, because I think one of the reasons why T1 was so strong in Game 2 was the fact that Zeus so handily won the 1v1. As you can see, Quandong Freaks able to start off this Rift Herald. This was a monopoly for T1 last time around, and they're looking to try and repeat that situation as Elim's on vision. There is the Weaver's Wall. Q is going to land, but Elim secures it. Not able to secure the eye just yet, but a cask flies out from Keen, who just hijacked that one, and that is going to allow Elim to go on over and collect himself the Eye of the Herald, as Gumayusi is just chilling here in the mid lane. A wave on the bottom side of the map is just going to go to nothing, as a cannon, I believe, was still there on Quandong Freak's side, but not on T1's side. Yeah. So it should be pushing towards T1's turret.
So this is nice for Guma. You know, he's going to get some extra farm here. Could have stayed bottom side if they weren't going to commit to the Herald fight like they wanted to, but then they realized, okay, it's kind of checkmate once Keen gets the hijack off. They have choke point control, so they can easily just lock the door on that. They have, obviously, the charm, etc. There's so many ways that this goes very poorly for T1 if they try to force. So Guma just stops, takes a mid-wave, goes back down here to the bottom side, will even up the CS with Teddy. Still not as good as grabbing plates or anything like that, but at least they identified early on, let's not force this fight. T1 of last year, 100% forces that fight, might lose the game over it.
Yep, it was definitely a nerve-wracking time whenever there was a Herald on the map. That's certainly not been the case, as you could imagine, a fair bit of VOD review has gone into that department of the game. So I think it was really intelligent identification. And remember, T1 are just basically a cash-in away from being able to start that snowball rolling. And Quandong Freaks have to do their very best to deny it as long as is humanly possible. And they may have to do it forever. As Gumayusi takes a fair bit of damage here, but Fate's Call is going to be traded. Okay, Handshake's going to get a cleanse out as well. As Zeus is down here, there's the kick flash, and there's a surprise Gragas as well as Gumiushi is not going to go down. The stick's not rendered out there, and Teddy is going to be taken. Ellen wanting to rotate over. He's the one with Eye of the Herald, but it's T1 that are collecting the plates.
Yeah, Fate does not have teleport, is backing at a really awkward timing here. Faker about to get his Weaver's Wall back up, so this is a pick that leads into a Drake take here for T1. It looks like that's the idea they wanted to set up here. Faker does now have his Weaver's Wall coming back, but with Keen rotating over just vanilla, doesn't actually teleport anything like that. The Drake will go over to Kwangdong Freaks, but there's a really nice setup play here for T1. Trying to force picks bottom side, grab plates and a Drake, but it will actually be Kwangdong Freaks who end up taking this in the end. It was a very greedy attack angle here for T1. It only works if Owner has the kick flash and executes it well, and he did.
Yeah.
So, you know, one thing we can always trust is Owner is not going to mess that up. So, good save here, because it definitely could have gone another way. Is Teddy also almost gets a bailout here. This is just arrow hits, they Fate's call, but then this is the call that was incorrect because they don't know Zeus is down here, although could have reasonably expected. And then, you know, Teddy's just like, he doesn't try to avoid the cast or anything because he wants to get the bailout trade onto Guma. Is unsuccessful. That is a lot of money going over to a Draven. Like you said, you were waiting for it, and boom. Suddenly, T1 back on the map, tying up the goals.
Absolutely. There's a very scary time as that's a nice handshake onto Carrier. Ellen's going to walk on over. This is a really dead Ash. There is absolutely nothing he can do there, and Fate is going to collect a kill. Gumiushi gets a huge spike in gold, as we can see. It was about 700 or 800 the lead for Teddy, and now it's actually in favor of Gumiushi after the cash in. The power of the Draven.
It's a massive moment here, and that's why you always have to look for these forced plays, and why they should not have Fate's called back in.
Well, Q is going to connect there onto Ellen as Owner's going to kick him into the wall that Faker prepared earlier. Q goes wide, and the flag and drag is going to get Ellen to safety. So, Jarvan pretty good at navigating wall situations, so he is going to be A-okay. However, does now have his flash on cooldown.
It was very scary. Zeus also was there with Cask available. And since he had teleport, can just go straight back up to the top lane. Nothing really lost here, except his teleport, of course. But I did like how that was played out. It is going to be Tank Gragas here, as we've come to see a little bit more often. Again, we had that Night Harvester window where we were seeing that a lot, but it's now back to Tank Gragas in the top lane.
Which is good. I imagine LS is losing less sleep now that there's less Night Harvesters on the map. Yeah. Zeus as well has just been playing around his teammates so much better this game. Oftentimes you see Zeus sitting in that top lane and just winning the matchup, showing another side of himself here where he's playing around side lanes of his teammates. So just a whole lot.
Faker here is in position to try to help push back. Like, he does have seismic shove, but he just can't save his teammate there. He's just 100% dead. Didn't even really need to show that replay. It doesn't get much more self-explanatory than a bit of an overextension there from Keria. Will pay for it with his life. Gold lead in Kwangdong Freaks' hands right now, but it's only 1,000, and it's really just that extra money that Fate's picked up here on the Ahri. So this game, very even. We're tied on Drakes. There is a period in time where this game can massively swing on an objective fight, and I think we're just waiting for that moment. The next Rift Herald spawning in 40 seconds here. Zeus has the ability to engage the same way he did last time from range. The problem is that the Silas means that Keen can do the same thing. So it really is about setting up Prio first, getting there faster. Keen has teleport advantage, those that he can actually stay bottom side here, whereas Zeus is trying to kind of happy feet, like, am I going up right now? Or do I need to defend this turret? Or Kwangdong committing? That teleport that he had to use after, you know, failing that rotation bottom side there really hurts him here, actually, right now, as he's pinned under turret.
Yeah, you can see Keen. Okay, Fate's call was used there towards the top side. Not entirely sure why. We didn't really catch that one. As Faker completes his crown, Q goes wide. As Owner's going to clear out vision. Not quite able to take that one before it does go invisible.
I think that Kwangdong Freaks should be happy to just slow this Herald down and let Keen push, knowing that they have teleport advantage. They don't need to force this. It's just, I mean, we're past the point of plates. You know, their turrets are healthy. A crash here from T1 isn't going to be a win. If they slow this down, I think they are very happy to just take a full turret for free while also denying Gragas any farm. Just as long as you don't force this, Kwangdong,